Joining me, Jim Wilson, the assistant sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. And as always, a lot to talk about. Recap from last week, look ahead to this week. You and I were talking about this today. Statement games.
Huge.
A lot of teams making big statements. Let's start with that St. John's and Shrewsbury game because St. John's made a huge statement, and Shane Combs may have made the biggest statement of the year. The way he ran, how nimble, hurdling over tacklers. I mean, he probably hurdled over 10, 12 tacklers if you look at the entire film of the game, spinning in between the tackles, which someone 6'2", 205 just doesn't do.
Right, exactly. I mean, you knew all season long he's going to be one of the more athletic players. We talked about that at the beginning of the year when it's like, do you put him at quarterback, do you put him at running back? We said from the beginning, anywhere he goes on the field, he's going to make plays. So whether you put him at quarterback, he's going to make the plays. You put him at running back, wide receiver, wherever you want, he's going to be a guy that the other team has to worry about. And that's really important because last week against Shrewsbury, a game we talked about last week, could go either way. Shrewsbury could be a good statement game for Shrewsbury. Now, St. John's right there just showed that, hey, the measuring stick is here, regardless of what happened the last 2 years. And I'm sure that helped. I'm sure they were going in. This is like one of those old school Wachusett games for them where they circle it on the calendar weeks before. They say, there's no way we're losing this game our senior year.
Right, and it's something that all season, off season long, in the summertime, you're lifting and saying 2 more reps for Shrewsbury, 3 more sprints for Shrewsbury, all off season. John Andreoli said coming into the season, this is the strongest team that he's had. Now, they may not be the biggest in size, but he said they're the strongest, and you see that. You see with the linemen and the linebackers, very fast. And what they do is defensively, they're so good with scheming, and Paul Capstick does such a great job with scheming and putting players in gaps and stunting and moving and blitzing that they seem to be coming from all angles. Like it's at that old Buddy Ryan 46. They're coming. They pressured Shrewsbury a lot. They were always around the football and came up with some big hits.
Exactly. You guys got like Sammy Norton and Davon Jones. They're going to be just a nightmare for other opposing coordinators because you can practice for them all week.
Right.
You get on that field and it's just, it's all bets are off because they're flying at you. You don't know where they're coming from. They have so many different looks and, disguising their packages and everything like that. And that's huge because not many high school quarterbacks are going to realize what's going on until it's too late. The ball's in the air and somebody's running it back.
Right, and you mentioned, with the safeties they have, they can do so much because you can go 2 safeties high in just a cover 2, let them divide the field in half, and then you can gamble underneath. You can put man coverage underneath. You can have your linebackers, hey, listen, read the quarterback's eyes, get in the passing lane, try to pick it off, because if you don't, you got 2 safeties that are flying up, that are laying wood, that either break up passes, hit hard. So the next time someone coming, whether it's on a crossing route or a deep route, they start to do a little alligator arms, which is human nature. You get popped in the ribs. You don't want to extend like this anymore.
Well, this is one of the few years in the last couple of years they've had such great offenses, throughout the last maybe decade or so.
Yeah.
Just like video game offenses. That defense, for the first time, you might say that defense might be even better than the offense, just because what they're able to do.
Yep.
And you know what? You mentioned earlier about sort of just hedging their bets and sort of gambling a little bit. They can do that because their offense is good enough. Where hey, we jumped a route, it didn't pan out. They scored 7. Our offense will get those points back. They're not so worried about having, before the years past, like the games against Leominster, they were in rock fights. It's 50-46, stuff like, just waiting for that big stop that never happens. This year, they're getting those stops, keeping those offenses in check.
And it's a different philosophy on their defense this year. This year, it's an attacking defense. They want to dictate, where in years past, it's been more of a read and react defense. So it's a shift in philosophy. It certainly has worked so well for St. John's so far. Wachusett and Shepherd Hill, another statement game, and the Hill coming out on top on this and making a big, big statement.
That was huge because they did what they wanted to do against Wachusett. We talked last week how Wachusett needed that win to sort of legitimize themselves in that Division II race. Didn't quite get it because Shepherd Hill just took it to them, and I'm sure they'll be the first to admit it. All we can practice, and by the way, they got St. John's this weekend.
I know.
So it hasn't been too good up in the Hill this week, I'm sure, with the coaching staff out there just riding them because they know they had a lot of problems against Shepherd Hill, against their offense, and they're just to be able to do what they wanted to do, not the look they were looking for.
And what you see, too, with this Shepherd Hill team is when they're healthy and Drew-Jean Guillaume can be in there every day, whether it's quarterback, running back, where they can move him around in the backfield, he's such a good weapon. The problem is he's been either dinged up in some big games, he's had cramping issues, he's had leg injuries. They haven't been able to have him out there on the field for every single play offensively. He's a weapon on defense, but on offense, he is a difference maker, and you have to have everyone on that defense account for him. Linebackers and safeties, if he's in the game, he's their first read. They're reading the quarterback. Even if they're taught to read the guards and follow through the fullback into the quarterback, they're going to follow the quarterback because he's the playmaker. Without him in there, it's a difference.
Right, and I talked to a coach this week about who's played him before, and so the difference between this team and the years past, they've had some good teams, but they've had that running back system with 3 or 4 good backs you got to worry about. This is just a quarterback. You're going to mark him, but the problem is stopping him. I mean, you can game plan all you want, and he's going to find a tackle with that amazing line, right up there with the Auburn lines and St. John's lines in years past. He's able to just find a seam, give him a little bit, just hold your guy for 4 seconds, not even, and he can find that corner. He's gone for a 60-yard touchdown. He's going to break your back.
And what they have, too, is the coaching staff at Shepherd Hill has the patience that even if the running game gets stopped first series, first quarter, they're going to stay with it, and they're just hammering you. They're like a blacksmith. Just continue to hammer, hammer, hammer. Eventually, that defense is going to wilt. Someone's going to let up for a half step because they don't want to come in there and try to take the guard on, take the tackle on to get to the running back. And when you do, boom, Drujon Guillaume's gone. The other running backs are gone. You're reaching out to make an arm tackle. You're not going to do it with this team. And that's all it takes. And then once they get rolling like that,
it's just tough. It's tough to catch up with points on them because they get a couple plays that work for them. They get up early, 14, 21, nothing. It's tough to chase that because they're just so good.
And it's a hard team to play against. As you know, I mean, it's not fun to play against a physical running team if you're on defense because you have to, every play, you got to pound every play. That's not fun. You'd rather, as a defender, 9 times out of 10, you know, you want to hit people, but you like a little bit more of those run and gun, we're going to throw the ball offenses, a little scat back out on a jet or something like that. You'll take that versus guys, here comes 11 guys coming straight at me on every single play, and it's a board drill.
It's always a long weekend when you play Shepherd Hill. And
a lot of Advil afterwards. Algonquin, Groton, Dunstable. Algonquin wins. Your alma mater. They have now won 3 in a row for the first time in 10 years. They got a kicker. They did it last week on the second to last play of the game on a kick. But talk about what this does for this program, and Justin McKay has worked so hard for this program, what it does for the confidence in the entire program.
It's just, you know, game like I said 2 weeks ago on Twitter after that Tantasco win, biggest win in about 20 years of that program. I was wrong. Groton Dunstable, it was just 10 times bigger than that because the way they won it. You see these games, I mean, Justin McKay's been doing a great job with that staff. They've had coaches come in with great ideas, Volcano and Long and all those guys. They've had good ideas, but just for whatever reason, and you can go on or off the record with that, it just didn't get implemented in that. And Justin came in, he's in the building, he's banging the drum to get support up for that team. Don't play fall baseball, don't play fall across. We got something here. And now he's got that stigma of, you know what, okay, we're not going to play for a 2-win team anymore. These guys, they have North Middlesex and Hudson in the next couple of weeks. I mean, and they could, or North rather, and they could be feasibly 5-3 in the playoffs with a home game. That's insane when you think about what their prospect was for the last couple of years. He's done a great job changing the culture in that locker room. These kids believe. The way they won that Groton Dunstable game, the Groton Dunstable goes up late, and you figure, okay, this is in our week. In years past, that's what happens at Algonquin. You know what, we'll try it again next week. We'll regroup. We'll circle the wagons. They come back, drive down the field, get a field goal. They win it. It's pandemonium. And
confidence, as you mentioned, they believe. Confidence is a very big thing in a locker room. It's a very big thing amongst a team where 11 guys have to do their job on each and every play for it to work, and 11 guys on defense have to do it in order to stop the opponent's play. They're a team that's playing with confidence right now, playing with a belief in themselves, and I don't think you can overstate that in a belief in the coaches because the coaches have preached, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. Now they're seeing the fruits of their labor.
All that stuff with the whole, you know, hey, we got to get up early this offseason, go to speed camp, we're going to this clinic, we're going to Hogworks, all that stuff. It's finally paying off, and they're seeing it. Not only, you know, say, we're being competitive in games, they're winning these games they didn't win in the years past. That's tremendous for that program.
Looking ahead to this week, and there's some big games coming up this week. We're going to start with Littleton and Maynard, both teams undefeated. And this is going to be, we had all these statement games this week. This is a statement game for one team or the other, barring that it doesn't come down to the final play, and then you can say, okay, well, both teams are really good. But this has the potential for one team or the other to say, we are the top dog here.
Exactly. I know Maynard has been looking for that win for a while. They got a great win last week against Lunenburg in double overtime. Another, same thing with Algonquin, a game they needed to win just to show they belong in the conversation. That being said, Littleton, I mean, they're 17 straight. They had a game, the same thing, against another undefeated team the week before, St. Bernard's. They handled them. So I know Littleton's been sort of like a been there, done that. We've seen these guys that we should have trouble with. And they end up taking you know, the starters out in the third quarter because they're just so far ahead. So it'll be interesting to see what they have in store for Maynard.
And I think Maynard, this is the best team Maynard's had since 1986. That's what they're saying. I remember that team. They physically beat me up all over the field on Thanksgiving. Jack Primiano, Cyril Clark, these guys, Timmy Connors, they were all over the map. So Maynard looking, as you said, to kind of make that statement. St. John's and Wachusett, just briefly on this one, as we mentioned, this has been a great rivalry for so many years. For Wachusett, it's going to be a big rebound game. They're coming off a loss. They're going to be upset. And for St. John's, it's about consistency now.
Trap
it's
game.
about, it's about, okay, we got to get up for this game because they're going to be up for us, and we got to continue to keep this train rolling.
Exactly. And Wachusett knows if they win this game, nobody's talking about, what happened
Exactly.
against Cypress Hill. Nobody's talking about that. The same thing as St. John's knows better than anybody. Look at last year, with the Leominster train rolling through. They got handled in that first game. They come back in the playoffs. They win it when it counts.
Yep.
All of a sudden, so they know they can't just rest on that. We beat them by 3 touchdowns in Shrewsbury. We're looking pretty good. We're feeling pretty good. They need to come in late against Wachusett and show they're still at the top.
North and Doherty, 2 city teams late in the year, both playing real good football, and with a little familiarity too. Jakari Carpenter, the great running back for Doherty, over 4,000 yards. He started at North. North's got a couple guys there that were at Doherty, so this is going to be a real good game and a real intense game.
It's great because North is playing in a big game for the first time that I can remember. This is the Mike Ross days, so that's fantastic for that program. Again, similar to Algonquin, I love these guys winning games they normally don't win because I sort of you root for those programs that sort of do well because their kids are working so hard. They got a real tough task against Doherty because Doherty takes pride. They've won the city title for, I can't remember the last time they lost it. It's been decades. So I think they're looking, they don't want to lay an egg in this game.
Madison Green, Anthony Sanchez for North, 2-headed monster there in the backfield. Sanchez is such a physically strong player, so they're going to be tested this week. Shepherd Hill and St. Peter Marion. We're going to be broadcasting that one, our game of the week. It's kind of a similar thing. For Shepherd Hill,
right.
You got to get up again and you got to keep this train rolling after a huge statement win over Wachusett. For St. Peter Marion, this could make their season,
right.
a win over Shepherd Hill. And this might be a little different St. Peter Marion team. They may have shifted a little bit from what they wanted to do preseason in the first couple weeks of the season. Now more of a rushing attack than a passing attack.
It's like a Kilcoyne team now.
Yeah, exactly.
They got, with Anthony Baldino, who's been fantastic. I remember he walked into that program a couple years ago, and Coach Tommy Hendrickson was just raving about this kid. Both sides of the ball, he's gonna be a factor. He knew he was gonna be paying off that program, and he's doing the job really well. He's one of the best running backs in the league. He's getting the job done, getting the big carries when it counts, and really getting those key yardage, and really extending those drives so guys like Seamus Leary can make some plays.
And Seamus Leary, this is one of the things too that he's going to have to do. Is he's a quarterback, but he's a defensive back as well. He's going to have to play a physical game at the defensive back. And you'll see, it's going to take a toll on you as a quarterback. It does. Third quarter, fourth quarter, he's not going to run as fast. He's not going to, the balls he's throwing, the out balls, he's not going to have as much on him because he's going to be asked to do so much physically. All right, we're out of time, Willie, as always.
12 minutes flies by.
Just like that. But we will see you next week. For Jim Wilson, I'm Kevin Shea. Thanks for watching. More of the Frenzy Extra coming your way right after this.